Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Jackman Radio. I'm very excited tonight. We have our friend, international superstar, wrestler, actor, writer, stand-up comedian, podcast host extraordinaire, Mr. Zac Amico. Zac, thanks for joining us. How you doing today?
Oh, brothers, it's great to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely, it's our pleasure. So what's going on in the Big Apple? I'm assuming that's where we're talking to you from, or perhaps
Yeah,
New
I'm coming out
Jersey.
of Brooklyn. Yeah, just skating on by. Finished shooting a new Troma movie yesterday, Curse of the Weredeer. Finished pickup shots at the Troma office last night, and currently shooting Bring on the Damned, Brandon Basham's new feature film, who did the Slashing 1 and 2. Really, really funny Troma movies.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I saw. I think I don't know if it was an official trailer, but I saw something on one of the campaigns for Curse of the Weredeer, and I'm pretty sure I saw Nadia White in the shower. So
Yes,
I don't
you
know
did.
if you were there for that, but how did that shoot go?
It was great. They had shot a teaser trailer, I think 2 years ago, and we recently went out to Tennessee to make the full movie. And Nadia has a full monster transformation and does it in the buff, and it was quite a day. She's a real trooper.
That's fantastic. I always love to see the crossovers happen, man, from adult into indie and even more mainstream in some cases. So it seems like, through Troma and films like that, Nadia White's really been able to, kind of get a niche into that door.
And she's fucking great, dude. She's a really, really good actress, and she's fun to be around. I would cast her in anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And Eric, did you see Zac and Eric? Did you guys see each other during Shitstorm, or was that just a?
Yeah, Zac. So Zac and I were my one day on set. You were a big help, Zac. You helped me. First and foremost, you produced that movie, right? You're one of the producers.
I get a very weird credit with Troma that doesn't exist, called associate director.
Okay.
It's myself and James Gunn got it on Romeo and Juliet. And I don't know what it means. One time at a convention, we saw a bunch of actor people who had been in the movie, and they were trying to explain what I did to their friend. And they went, "This is Zac, the on-set director."
Okay. Yeah. I can go with that. I mean, yeah, because when I was there on set with you at Brooklyn Fire, I mean, you were, quiet on the set, everyone. You were running things, and you did a great job and helped me feel comfortable in that big room with all the green walls, essentially a giant green screen room.
Yeah.
To just ad-lib a few lines as Trump there with Lloyd with all the lights on us, and he had all the makeup on and the latex and the fake dicks and the boobs and the hands and everything. And that was really awesome, man. That's one of the best memories I have, in the entertainment world, and obviously it's the first movie I've ever been in. So you guys all were just so awesome, and I was so appreciative. Yeah, I was so appreciative of your support, and obviously Justin and Lloyd was amazing. I mean, the energy on Lloyd, man, to be doing that in his 70s, that was just unreal. And then, boy, what a treat it was to see all you guys a couple months back in New York City for the big premiere there at in Astoria at the Museum of Moving Image. What a cool night that was, man.
Yeah, it was really, really fun. Just see everybody come out, and so many people just really get the movie, because it is one you have to. You're either going to get it or you don't.
Right.
And it was so much fun. That same day we shot with you, we shot with Sam Roberts from the Jim and Sam show, and he's a host for WWE. And we had nothing written down for him.
Yeah.
And he just showed up. I said, "Wear a suit." And I got him to do a backstage segment like it was a WWE locker room with Lloyd. Lloyd, I mean, couldn't have gotten it less. And I was just feeding him, "Let me tell you something, brother." And it made me so happy.
Yeah, I remember seeing Sam, and I'll be honest, I had no idea who he was that day. And then when I got back, I kind of shared a picture up from the set, and my friend was like, "Dude, you were there with Sam Roberts?" And I was like, "Who's that?" he had to tell me who he was, and I was like, "Oh man, that's awesome." Yeah, Troma. I mean, Troma fans are vast. It's far and wide, the reach of Troma, and people who will go on to have mainstream success or be in other aspects of the entertainment industry. Always find their way back to Troma. So I just feel so lucky to have been part of that experience. And I just caught some part of your interview with Sam and Norton that you just did recently, which was great. And I wanted to ask you about this. This is really exciting. You mentioned that you're going to possibly be filming like your own hour special in August.
Might get pushed back, but yeah, I'm looking to shoot something in the next few months. I've been touring, doing long sets, getting it ready. I just practiced it in its entirety about 2 weeks ago to get an idea of it. I did it twice. I did a private gig at a golf course, and it was just a guy happened to be a fan and hired me. And it was very hoity-toity, and I didn't know how it was going to go. And I wound up having a blast. And I wound up hanging out all night with all these people that go to this random golf course in Connecticut.
Oh, wow.
And then I did it 2 weeks ago at a tiny bar in Brooklyn. And as I was waiting, it was a real small room. It sat like 25 people. And as I was waiting to go on, the bartender came out and went, "The microphone doesn't work, just so you know."
Fuck.
I went, "Is anybody going to do something about that?" And she goes, "Nah." And I went, "Okay." So I had to do my headliner set without a microphone.
Fuck, really?
Yeah, I woke up the next, and I apologize for my language. I woke up the next day sounding like I fucking deep-throated a chainsaw.
Oh man, I mean, how was the reaction in the small room? I mean, obviously, like with a private golf gig, those golf pros, they know how to party, man. I bet those guys got wound up and got a real kick out of you. But how was the response from like the smaller room? And obviously,
those were all people that were there to see. I mean, it was a tiny engagement. They were all there to see me. So we made the most of it. We had a good time. And the golf course, yeah, I wound up because I got a bad back, so sometimes the full hour is not spent standing.
Yeah.
And I wound up, it was all, which is not ideal for comedy. It was all tables, like set up like more like a restaurant. And I wound up just taking a seat at one of the tables with two old men, like I was sitting there with them. And I did my act sitting there with two like 80-year-old guys.
Wow.
And I had a really good time.
That's
awesome.
Great.
Yeah, I sometimes deal with back issues too, Zach. Obviously being a larger individual, is part of it. And I'm a drummer, so I drum every week, and sometimes that can do a number on my shoulders and my back. But yeah, whenever we perform live, we do a mixture of like stand up, but I always say to the audience, yeah, I'm more of a sit down comic, and we kind of have more of like the podcast, live podcast vibe. And yeah, so I saw the episode you did there with Jim and Sam, and then maybe last year you were on Kill Tony. I thought that was awesome too, man. What's that like, man? How did you get on there, and what was that process like? And that's more of kind of a live podcast vibe too. Well, a mixture, isn't it?
Yeah. So Tony's the best. Love him. Absolutely, what a real sweetheart. Goes out of his way to stand up for people he thinks are funny. If he thinks you're funny, he will get you in front of people, and it really means a lot. And that was a wild week. So we were in Austin. Big J Okerson was taping a crowd work special at the Creek in the Cave, which the Creek used to be in Astoria, and they moved to Texas during the pandemic, and it felt like kind of a homecoming. It was very nice. And then we stayed to do shows with Tony. And that was the week, more or less. Tony got canceled. Tony got into some trouble. And he pretty much, every club told him, we won't have you on stage out of fear of these people that are coming after him. And we did a live taping of Legion of Skanks with myself, Lewis, Big J, Tim Dillon. And Tony was backstage, and we're like, we're bringing Tony on. And he was sitting with, and he was very nice. Like, you don't have to if you don't want to, or if you feel this could be an issue for you guys. And they were like, no, fuck that, Tony. You're coming on stage. So we were the first people to bring Tony on stage after people tried to fucking ruin him. And we wound up hanging him with him all week and then doing Kill Tony. And so much fun. Like, what a great atmosphere. That bar he has is phenomenal. There's a band that starts it off. What a fun night, man. And then what people don't know is he throws a hell of a shindig after. Fully catered, real good barbecue. It basically just turns into a comedian party afterwards where he takes over that whole joint. And wow, what a fun night.
Oh man, that must have been an amazing experience.
So basically, Zach, the people that wanted to cancel Tony were the creature you played in Shitstorm, the fucking blogger woman with the big blonde hair, based on a real woman, and that's who wants to cancel people like comedians and Tony.
Yeah, that was very, very on purpose that I played that character. When we had done a early reading of Shitstorm, Lloyd asked me if I wanted to be anybody in it. And I said there was nobody really calling to me. And he goes, "Oh, write yourself something." And I had this idea that if I was going to be Lloyd's, associate director, that I also wanted to be a woman in it. And then I just thought it would be very funny if I break the fourth wall every time I'm on camera and actively comment on the movie as it's going. And that's where we kind of started from. And that person, the character was based off of, had debated Jim Norton a number of years ago on a TV show, which is where I picked up some of her mannerisms.
Yeah.
Where she does a lot of she does a lot of side talking, where she'll basically play both characters in her narration of an event. So then, guys will say things like, "Well, I don't think that's true." And that's where I picked up all her mannerisms, was from that one interview. And originally on the call sheet and stuff, I just used her real name. And then I guess somebody sent it to her.
It got back to her.
Yeah. Because she was nutty pleased that she had posted it on her Instagram story, not a post. Just pictures of me and another man in comedy making fun of me, and this is the punishment I receive for trying to do this, and I don't want to say who it was, but it was a very shrill response.
It was amazing.
It's
I
crazy
with that character. I hung out like that. I had so much fun. I mean, the second I went to Lane Bryant and got measured, and they put me in the shapewear, I was like, "Oh, this is uncomfortable as hell. I'm going to use this." And I was in that shit for days. They say, we were making fun of Lloyd that he would be done for the day, and he would keep the dress on all day, and keep directing. And we wouldn't tell him to change because he was nicer as a lady. So then we basically, but then the same thing would happen to me, is I would be done for the day, and I would just keep the outfit on and keep going.
It felt right.
And yeah, it was. It's not the first time I've dabbled in female impersonation. So, and I didn't want to play it like a drag queen, and I didn't want to play it in a parody way. My intention was to do it like Kids in the Hall, where I am a man playing a woman, and this character just happens to be female, and I'm playing a female. There's nothing funny about that, because why would there be? And I think it came out in the exact tone I wanted.
Yeah, it's like everybody loved it the most when Mark Foley's dressed as a woman, because he was hot. He was hot as a man. Yeah, he was, and I caught a little bit of Babette Bombshell vibes in what you were doing a little bit too. It's a believable character. I mean, you forget that it's Zac Amico pretending to be a woman. You are this character, and it's when you're in the Troma building and the fucking snowflake, like the bat snowflake signal comes on. That's one of my favorite parts in the whole movie.
So when we shot that, one of the ideas I had was, behind me there's a poster board that says "Careers to Destroy," and it's the Legion of Skanks, Stavros Halkias, Eli Sayers, Keith Carey. It's all my friends with like the JFK yarn between them.
Yeah.
And then there's like, Stavros Halkias, fat shaming. And I put all shit, Big J. Okerson, anti-Semite. And I like put all these wires between. And before it, I had asked all the comics and if I could use a picture of you. And I explained what it was for. And I had two people say no. One, because they had a writing job where she was going to be involved. The lady I was playing.
What are the chances?
And the other was Tim Dillon, who said, no, not unless it's a list of the greatest comedians of all time. Which is such a funny Tim thing to say.
You could see him saying that for sure.
I don't want to be low to your level.
Like, he's like, what about me?
Yeah.
What about the guy who makes fun of the dead senator's daughter? What about me? I love that joke Stavros tells about fat dudes who dress like the Stray Cats, like the 1950s, always getting steady pussy.
Oh yeah.
he's like, somehow these big fat guys who are hideous in their 40s and 50s always got these young hot pinup girls in their 20s around them. Of course, I'm paraphrasing, but yeah, that's one of my favorite lines that he has about that.
That was a fucking beast on stage. He just came out with a special. It's so good.
Yeah. So yeah, man, you got friggin' hands in so many different worlds, like wrestling, comedy, acting. What's it like kind of going, back and forth between all those? And it seems like you really have a way to kind of mix them up too.
I always consider it's just one thing. I'm a personality.
Yeah. Right.
With wrestling, I'm a manager, so I'm just playing one exaggerated version of myself. With Troma stuff, I'm a little more behind the scenes. Comedy, I'm an exaggerated version of myself in another direction. Podcasting, the same. And I like mixing it up. The only thing that sucks is trying to not double book myself, because I will accidentally take bookings on the same night for more than one thing and realize I fucked my schedule up. But other than that, yeah, it's all kind of bleeds into one another in a weird way. And where I have comedians do stuff with the movies, I do a movie podcast, so that kind of bleeds into the broadcasting world. It all kind of is a nice mix.
Yeah, that's Zac's Midnight Spook Show, if anyone is interested in checking that out. And that's also on Gas Digital, correct?
Yeah, I have 3 podcasts on Gas Digital. I co-host the Real Ass Podcast on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. On Thursdays, I do a show with Ian Fidance called Bye Guys. And then Fridays at midnight, it's Zac Amico's Midnight Spook Show, where myself and comics sit down and watch genre films, whether it be B movies, horror movies, kids movies, anything I feel like putting on that week. And we talk over it and just act a fool.
Yeah, that looks like a lot of fun. That's almost kind of like a Mystery Science vibe, a little bit.
A little bit. Sometimes we never even mention the movie. Sometimes we're just caught in a conversation. I consider it very much like a friend experience. And then sometimes when you're friends, you put on a movie and you don't pay attention to it. Sometimes you're talking about the movie the whole time. It's very much who's in and who wants to talk about what that day.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes it could almost be like a tertiary background type deal.
Yeah. And a lot of people tell me they listen to it at night because it helps them calm down at night, just because it's a very like chill kind of show.
Yeah.
But I enjoy it very much. And we'll do a whole mix of things. We've done, crazy horror movies. We just did Dr. Mordred, the Full Moon Doctor Strange ripoff. I'll do weird kids movies. I like to prank my audience. So for Halloween this year, I put up a poll and said, hey, which is your favorite movie in the Halloween franchise? And we'll do it on the show when I get your votes. And then that week at midnight, I had everybody vote. And we did The Dog Who Saved Halloween, starring Dean Cain.
Sounds like a Hallmark movie or something.
No, it is.
How disappointed was everybody?
Oh, a bunch of people were in on it and got it. A bunch of people were mad. And a bunch of people were just confused. Like, how did this win the poll? Like, not realizing, no, I'm lying.
Did you get a surprising amount of votes for Halloween 3 Season of the Witch?
Yes, a lot wanted that and a lot wanted 4. I did 4 the week after. just because I didn't want to completely. I consider that like I think one of the funniest things ever is after when South Park got really big, they did the Who is Cartman's Dad season finale cliffhanger, and when they came back, instead of answering that, they did an entire Terrence and Phillip episode called Not Without My Anus. And so many people called Comedy Central that they had to bump up the South Park episode to that Friday because people were like freaking out.
Yeah, they were
They
so up in
waited all
arms.
summer and didn't get the answer to the question, who is Cartman's father?
Oh, I love that. It's a great subversion, like Who Shot JR, and then you come back and you just do something completely off the wall and totally different.
Yeah, I loved it. And we've done a bunch of weird stuff that I've found over the years. I can't recommend enough. Have either of you guys heard of Meet the Hollowheads?
No, I don't think I have.
Okay, it's on Prime, and it is I'm trying to figure out the best way to put it. It is a post-apocalyptic, gross-out parody of 1950s sitcom aesthetics, starring Juliette Lewis as the daughter. Bobcat Goldthwait is in it, and the mom from Throw Mama from the Train.
Oh,
And
nice.
it's essentially a like nuclear family, dad is bringing the boss home from work episode type deal. But everything is wrong about this world they live in. So everything's underground. Every room is round. Completely round. So there's no corners and no walls. Everything is purposely colored, like everything's like odd browns and off colors. And everything is connected by series of umbilical cords. So like when the mom's in the kitchen, she'll take a tool out that's hung by an umbilical cord. So like the kid comes home with a black eye, so she puts a leech on it with an umbilical cord. Or like everything's kind of alive, like the Flintstones.
How bizarre.
And it's one of the weird. It was made by the guy who did the effects on Scrooged.
Okay.
And it's one of the weirdest things I've ever sat. Like you watch it and you go, I don't know who this is for, because it's not a children's movie, but it's also not a grown-up movie. And then random celebrities pop in and out, as well as like tonally, it'll just veer off for a gross out gag. Like there's a thing where they have this animatronic dog that's all sick looking and gross, and the son and his friend pick giant like baseball size ticks off of it and put them in a catapult and shoot them at the wall for an extended sequence.
Wow. Was this the late 80s, early 90s? When did this?
Of course, yes.
Yeah,
That
that's,
Mama,
yeah.
You talking about Mama Fratelli?
And Ramsey. And Ramsey.
Yeah, and the whole thing is really, real. Everyone I've shown it to, it like stops them dead in their tracks.
Oh, I'm gonna have to check that out.
I also appreciated, Amico, recently you posted that you knew it might not be popular, but going to bat for the Final Destination as the quintessential 90s horror movie.
Yeah, 90s, 2000, like my whatever our age bracket would be. And people, of course, are going to say Saw. But Saw really dipped off to me. It got convoluted and less interesting, while Final Destination got more interesting because I'm rewatching them all now. Personally, I'm going to do them on the show eventually. But they set up the rules to that franchise up top and stick with them. And
Right.
it only gets more like, it's like the game Mousetrap, where like a million little things cue the death. And right at number 2, they already have you guessing how everyone's going to die. And they fake you out the whole thing. And they just get more and more wild. And then the way that series wraps is so brilliant. And that it sticks the landing so good.
Yeah, where are they at now? 6 of those or 5?
Yeah, 6. I believe
6.
5 or
Todd.
6.
The Final Destination was the last one, right?
Yeah. And then the fact that Tony Todd's involved in all of them in some capacity just gives it so much fun gravitas. And then when you talk to people our age, when you talk about Final Destination, almost everyone that watches a lot of movies, oh yeah, I think of that every time I'm behind a truck with logs on it.
Mm-hmm.
Fine.
Or a water slide, or a roller coaster, or
man, I can't help it.
right?
That's the first one.
Sorry, I'm going there, but if you're not thinking 9/11 or Final Destination, then you weren't born in 1986.
Question for the Jackmans. And this is another theory I throw out on my show a lot. I think, I would love your opinion. I think the best example of post 9/11 cinema, Cloverfield.
Wow, I like Cloverfield. Yeah, that's a very that's an interesting take, and it definitely
The
reminds you of
confusion, everybody running around in dust. Everything about it is how would people handle a terrorist attack in New York? And I remember getting out of that movie, I was looking up for days.
Yeah.
For fucking kaiju. I was looking for kaiju. It was insane.
Well, that shot that they have at the end, which is taped over the other footage of the thing just coming into the water, was freaking terrifying too, man. If you don't look at, you'll miss that. I think a lot of people probably miss that because how shocking the movie was, and for a so-called found footage or POV type film, I thought it was very effective and definitely reminded me of 9/11 for sure.
What year did that drop? It wasn't that long after, right?
I was in college, so it had to be within 10 years.
Yeah. No, I remember being freaked out by Cloverfield and wondering exactly what it would be, but definitely got those vibes that this is, you're in the middle of a city, in the middle of a catastrophic terrorist attack, and how do you respond in real time? And watching it play out like that in real time is truly horrifying. And it definitely called back to 9/11 because I was a freshman in high school when 9/11 happened. And even watching the footage later on from what was recorded earlier in the day was just so, still to this day, when I think about it, man, it just gives me chills, and it's totally horrifying. And it's still hard to believe that captured happened.
Yeah, and I just feel Cloverfield really, really captured how, because I grew up right across the Hudson River from the city. I grew up in Secaucus, so I watched the attack out my window of my freshman year classroom, and they really nailed it. The panic, the rumors, the people not knowing where the safe place to go was. The subways where everything goes down, you don't know where to go. It's such a perfect, and I don't think it gets credit for being like the quintessential post 9/11 horror movie.
Yeah, and I really feel the horror genre, and I think it's starting to get more respect in that aspect, in that realm, that it captures generation, whatever generation's going on, the trauma. Like, for example, I always point people to Jacob's Ladder for Vietnam, and it's a horror film, but it's also, I really also feel like it's a war film, in the same vein that like Full Metal Jacket might be, because it's like, it's cerebral and psychological and it's scary, but ultimately it's just a very sad movie that really deals with, I think, PTSD and grief and what a lot of war veterans go through. So I think the horror genre really captures a lot of that stuff, and it's usually ahead of its time.
A great example of that is how zombies work throughout generations. 9/11 dead. That's nuclear fear. That's radiation, us rotting away, shit like that. The 80s come. How do you become a zombie? Blood and saliva. Gee, what were we afraid of?
What could that be from?
And then, you go further into the 2000s, and zombie is more like a chemical attack or, something that we're infecting ourselves with. Kind of like, the gas on the Japanese subways and shit.
Right.
And I feel like the way zombies are portrayed, and now we're going to see, and it's starting already, zombies are a pandemic.
Yeah.
Sadness, which just came out, treats zombies like a pandemic, and that it's a germ. I think zombies have always kind of reflected whatever the cultural boogeyman is of a society. Then that reflects how they become zombies, how they act, and how we respond in the films.
And how fast they are too, because I remember when George Romero came to my college, he made it a point to be like, no, zombies, they're not, the zombies aren't supposed to run. Their flesh is rotting. Their muscles have been rotting away and they can't run. So even from, and I think, nobody did it better than Romero in terms of social commentary, especially with Dawn of the Dead. And I think the underrated Day of the Dead, which might be my favorite out of the original three.
I do love that in every interview for every zombie movie, George Romero went, "Oh, it's very indicative of our cultural time." It's like, all right, we get it, George. You've been doing this act for how long? I'm sorry you didn't copyright Night of the Living Dead, so you got to keep trotting this shit out.
Oh God,
we get it. Dennis Hopper's supposed to be fucking Bush.
George Bush, zombies, man, freak me out. There's a great behind the scenes from. It's like a Universal Studios approved when he was making I think it was Land of the Dead in 2005. Martel actually pointed this out to me. There's this shot of George Romero just like with his head in his hands, just going like this. And so you can just see the frustration that he's dealing with a big studio and not being able to do what he really wanted to do. And then, of course, he did Diary and Survival, which were not as good, but, still had some moments.
Yeah,
I don't know, but I want to see The Sadness. That's on my list. I've heard that's really good and really gory.
Really good. There's one or two parts that are a little low budget, cheesy looking. Other than that, it looks excellent. And then it's a little heavy handed with the COVID imagery and the COVID.
Yeah,
like they really. And I think it also might be a translation thing, where just when you read it, it comes off a little more ham-fisted. But overall, it's excellent. That and Train to Busan.
I was just about to say
phenomenal.
Yeah, because I watched the sequel too, which was good, but it didn't pack the same punch as the original. But I was invested, man, in the first one. I was like really sad. That movie made me. That was a zombie movie that like made me emotional.
Right. Yeah. You're gonna love The Sadness. It's not as emotional as that, but it is a mind. It is a mind fuck. It takes some big shots.
Yeah, that looks really good. I mean, the horror genre, and then of course the subgenre of zombie films always are willing to be cutting edge, and say something before a lot of other films do. So I'm glad to see that it is getting more recognition and getting the due it deserves. But I still think there's there's probably a long way to go. But they usually do very well, box office wise, and even people who say they don't really typically like scary movies end up. Finding one that had an impact on them.
Ones.
Yeah.
I think Ari Aster's doing a lot as far as showing that horror movies can be like art films too. I think him and Jordan Peele.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see what's going on with Nope. I really feel like he's doing a bait and switch with the trailers he's releasing.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's going to necessarily be a straight up alien or UFO film. I think there's going to be something else going on. After I saw Us, I was kind of thinking to myself, like, what did I just see? What was that all about? And I don't know. I felt like what he was really trying to say was we present two different versions of ourselves, and who's to say which one is the real authentic one and the real good one? Because I thought that was a pretty good twist. Spoiler alert,
yeah.
what they do at the when you find out what's really going on with Us. But
I think what you said about the trailer, that's what Hereditary did perfect.
Oh God!
In that the trailer for Hereditary was a possessed kid movie.
Yeah, you thought it was going to be all about Charlie the whole 2 hours.
And my co-host on Real Life Podcast, I was telling him, you got to see Hereditary. It's fucking terrifying. This chick is so good in it.
Dude.
And he watched the first 25 minutes and turned it off. And he goes, it's just the whole trailer. I went, what does that tell you? And he goes, right. What? I went, that the rest of the movie is something else. And he goes, oh. And then he watched it. And it was, that shock in Hereditary was so bad. And then Toni Collette just threw. There's scenes in Hereditary where Toni Collette changes expression that looks CGI.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys just watched The Staircase on HBO. She plays the victim in it.
That's on my list.
She's excellent.
Yeah.
Hereditary. I've watched it twice, man, and that's it. I don't think I'm ever going to watch it again. I was so terrified after that movie, and just thinking about it, I get chills, man. And I was going into Midsummer with a lot more expectation. I enjoyed Midsummer, but I only watched it once, and I'm not like clamoring to watch it again, you know?
I enjoyed Midsummer. I watched it with my wife and my buddy, who's a critic, Simon Abrams. He writes for Variety and The Slate, and he is one of the reviewers for RogerEbert.com. And we used to live together. Real brilliant guy. He hosts a lot of screenings. He does DVD commentary on like some bigger like Blu-ray releases of older stuff. And I was so glad that me and him had the exact same interpretation of the movie. It was about halfway through, I turned over to him and I'm like, "Are you getting what I'm getting out of this?" And he goes, "What do you think?" I went, "This is Texas Chainsaw Massacre in Europe." And he goes, "Yeah, I'm sitting here. This is a Hooper movie." I was like, "Mm-hmm." And if you go through it beat for beat, it's Texas Chainsaw, but for flower hippie Norwegians.
Right, on mushrooms.
I mean, to the kid in the mask, the sledgehammer, the preserving the corpses, the way the order they're taken out. It's Texas Chainsaw.
Wow.
That's interesting. I didn't think of it that way.
That's a good interpretation of it. Yeah. To me, it was just a psychedelic breakup film, disguised as a horror film in a lot of ways. But yeah, I'm sure Ari Aster has Tobe Hooper influences.
Have you seen Ari Aster's short he finished in college, the Something Strange About the Johnsons?
Was that the one about the dad fucking?
I've heard about it. Yeah, Eric, did you watch that, Eric?
I was going to maybe look for it one day because I read about it, but then I was like, I might wait on this. Have you seen it, Zach?
Oh yeah, my show Spook Show, it screens live for free midnights on Gas Digital. So what I've started doing is a pre-stream at 11:30. I got inspired when I went to go to the Alamo Draft House, how they curate. It's not just trailers; they curate. So, like, if you go see a Stephen King movie at the Draft House, there'll be Stephen King commercials from the 80s. There'll be clips from, the Indian version of It.
Cool.
Scary clown footage. And they curate about a half an hour clips before the movie. So now I do that every week. And it's music videos, commercials, clips that kind of get people in the mood for the movie. And then I'll go in the chat with them. And every once in a while, if I'm feeling squirrely, I'll move it over to Discord. And I'll go, all right, who's got 2 more movies in them?
Wow.
And I'll do live episodes for free. And I don't record them. I just do. You got to be there if you want to see it. And
that's cool.
One night I did Strange Thing About the Johnsons. And even my fans were a little like, it's not graphic. But
Dude.
It really gets you. You're so not prepared for it. However prepared you think you are for it, you're not.
Yeah.
And I still haven't committed. I haven't been able to do it. I haven't watched the Serbian Film. I still to this day haven't watched it.
Okay, I will argue that a Serbian Film, content aside, is a good movie.
Yeah.
It works. It's very smart. It's kind of got some like Memento type shit going on. Everybody in it's very good. It's not as bad as you're gonna think it is.
Yeah.
It's horrible things happen.
Right.
They don't happen on screen the way you think they do.
Okay.
That is a movie that has done a great job of its legend outweighs what's actually on the screen.
Because that's like Texas Chainsaw,
where no one dies on screen.
Yeah, it's all.
So you don't find out at the end of Serbian Film that it was just a Clinton Foundation event.
It was, and it's a wild piece of cinema, but it's a bummer that it ends darker than anything else.
Oh God! Sometimes you need something like that. Other times you want to watch Dean Cain on Hallmark. I'll
tell you what, Dean Cain loves him a fucking dog movie. He can't stop doing them.
Well, isn't Dean He's a MAGA superstar too, isn't he?
Oh,
Like
big time.
The king. I got Superman voting for me, if you can believe it, Zach. We got Superman. We do.
We have him endorsing from Kryptonite.
I got a Dean Cain movie for you guys. Another dog movie. Bailey's Billions. And it's about a golden retriever whose master dies and leaves him $1 billion.
Wow.
It is then kidnapped by an evil butler and maid who are starting a puppy mill and has to be saved by a group of kids and a veterinarian who can talk to animals. Now I'm going to give you this cast list. Veterinarian who can talk to animals, boom, Dean Cain, done. Loves him a dog movie, he's in. Evil butler and maid, Tim Curry, Jennifer Tilly.
Dude,
I like it.
Are you kidding me? How have I never heard of this?
Eaten up scenery. I mean, chewing through the sets, overact. I mean, it's like they watched Clue and went too subtle. Voice of the dog, John Lovitz.
Oh,
you want to talk a tour de force?
We gotta put that on the list. My God, so many things to put on the list here.
Let me write that down. Dean Cain, what's it called?
Bailey's Billions.
What is this, like 2002 or something?
Yeah.
What was the one called, Zach, with Mama Fratelli in it?
Oh, Meet the Hollowheads.
Put that on there too, Mike. And then put the Ari Aster dad fucker on there too. That, you know.
I would put it. I wouldn't do that and Meet the Hollowheads in the same night. You're not going to be the same.
We'll space it out a little bit, but
Zach's a bag of mushrooms.
Zach's putting something in my wings right now, Mike, to be bold and brave with this stuff. You know.
I know, yeah, because in our old age, we don't watch as I certainly as a teenager and in my college years, I love the Saw series, and I still have a big place in my heart for the Saw series. I was disappointed by Spiral, probably not as disappointed as Will Smith, but I didn't. I gave it a shot too, man. My friends who I grew up watching Saw with were like, "Oh, it just looks bad." I'm like, "Still, man, you got to see it." You know, but I've heard that they're going to do maybe a Jigsaw TV series and bring back Tobin Bell, and they're talking about doing another Saw film. So I think that property is still got fuel in the tank, But
I mean, if somehow Chucky just got good again, I think
Chucky's. I wanted to bring that up. You mentioned Jennifer Tilly, dude. How freaking good was that season? Like, it shouldn't have been that good. Like,
it was phenomenal.
The last two films, Curse and
I agree.
Colt,
I liked them a lot. Yeah,
amazing. This is like what, part 6 and 7 or something, or Curse would have been part 5.
No, Seed is 5.
Oh, Seed is 5. Curse
6. Cult is
6.
7.
Cult is 7. And I love how Don Man's. Yeah,
I mean, the fact that the one with John Waters is the worst one is so telling.
Is that Bride of Chucky?
No, that's Seed of Chucky.
Seed? Yeah, Seed is my least favorite, I have to be honest. Although I did like Glenn Glenda, and I think Glenn Glenda is going to make an appearance in the series. I rewatched Seed recently, and it just
it's not that good. But then Curse and Cult are phenomenal, especially when they reveal where they are in the timeline.
Yeah, I know it's amazing, and Fiona Dourif is amazing. She's
Fiona Dourif as her own father, incredible. Then Fiona Dourif as herself, possessed by Charles Lee Ray, is such a multi-tiered performance. She's fucking phenomenal.
It really is, and then the dynamic between her and Jennifer Tilly was really good. It was some of the most interesting material of the season, I thought.
Yeah, absolutely incredible.
Yeah, they greenlit the second season. I think they're filming it right now, and even the new characters are great. But I love how they bring in the original OG Andy and the older foster sister, and it's just so freaking zany, and it's amazing that a series that's been around since like 1988 is still this good. But if you have someone like Don Mancini who's at the helm the whole time, man, and really cares about the characters and how the story works out. Hopefully other studios or other entities that have all this money will fund projects like that can still be, brought back. And like, I don't know, are you a fan of the Scream series at all? Or
I am. I did not enjoy the new one. It just didn't tickle my pickle the way I thought it was gonna.
Yeah, it didn't work for you.
Yeah, I mean, I've found the Scream series to have diminishing returns. I feel like while it was to shock the audience, I think killing Randy in 2 basically killed the driving force even more than Sidney, where I felt like he was almost... Sidney was our protagonist, but he was almost like a Gildenkrantz and Rosenstern type narrator, and that the series has never recovered from losing that character.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And every time they make a new one, there's always callbacks.
There's
but
somebody
then
that needs to do his speech,
right?
Or and like at a certain point, how am I supposed to believe this group of another high school, and they all talk like they're film school graduate, like having these superfluous conversations about art films, and the new one. And I never am a person that complains about diversity in newer movies. I totally get it. I think representation truly matters. And that's one of the more things I'm a screaming lib about. I really think it's important for people to see themselves represented on screen and in things they love.
Absolutely.
But when they cut to that table at Woodsboro and it looks like a fucking Burger King Kids Club version of the first movie. It looks like a fucking ad for community college where they're like, get one of everything.
Yeah. It was shoehorned, yeah. And then you got to have your gay or your bisexual characters. Or
and it's insulting. It's like, they wouldn't hang out. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I agree. I felt like they were checking boxes with the new Scream. There were some great callbacks, of course. I like kind of with the opening how they reworked the expectations of the opening kill. But now Neve Campbell's not coming back for part 6 because they don't want to pay her. So,
and supposedly it's in New York.
Yeah, they're filming in Montreal and it takes place in New York. So I will, of course, go see it. But
out of curiosity, you gotta. But that series hasn't really hasn't gotten me in a while. I think I did not like most of it, but the ending shot of the new Texas Chainsaw was a piece of art.
I watched that, and overall, I didn't think it was that great. But there were things about it that I thought were pretty great, and I agree about the ending of the new Texas Chainsaw.
Great concept that the one had been through a school shooting, and that's why she was anti-gun. Very believable, very intelligent. What I thought it was missing, and this is where the Texas Chainsaw series takes a dive. So I personally am in love with Texas Chainsaw 2. I think it's one of the best movies ever.
Absolutely.
And it's because, and the same thing that one has, it's not the Leatherface show. It's everybody, and he's the one you're scared of. This new one, to not have any other family members, is not a Texas Chainsaw movie. It's a Leatherface movie, and I don't really want to see that.
Yeah, they were more focused on
the family dynamic.
Yeah, I like the one they did a couple years ago where they had John Duggan come back as the as Grandpa, and then I think Bill Moseley showed up as a different Sawyer character. I might be confusing too.
No, you're exactly right. They moved everybody up a generation.
Yeah,
where Bill Moseley was the dad more or less, and then the Grandpa was the dad. Yeah,
fantastic. And I had the good fortune of meeting Gunnar Hansen once, and I was like, dude, you scared the shit out of me with as Leatherface. And he's like, that's the idea. That's what we were going for. And I got him to sign a photo of him from the end there when he's doing the dance from the original. And I got to dig that up. I got to hang that up. But I have that in my archives. And so, I mean, that property, I think they're going to do another one with Netflix. And then, of course, Hellraiser, which is one of my all-time favorite horror series, has a TV show and a film coming out. So that'll be.
So Hellraiser has made very early in the series what I consider the jumping the shark of horror is take it to space.
Part 4, yeah.
And they went to space pretty quick. Leprechaun went faster. I think Leprechaun went in 3.
At least Jason waited till what, part 10? Jason X? Yeah.
Which is a good movie. I stand by Jason X. Jason X has one of my favorite kills ever, the nitrogen death.
Dude, I'm with you.
Pretty fucking good. When they rebuild him as Super Shredder Jason, I legitimately think that is a good plot device.
Dude, and I always had a crush on that robot girl. I
Yeah.
forget her name. I always thought she was so hot. I don't know. That's weird, but hey, it's 2022. We're all in the metaverse.
I know we're coming down to like our last 10 minutes, but I did want to ask you, Zach, my earliest memories of you were probably from like 10 years ago at Newcomb High, you being involved with that. But I'd like to know a little bit. I don't really know a lot about your background, how you got started in comedy performing. So what did that look like? And like, what was the timeline in your life? Like high school, college, like how did it all begin for you?
So I actually was a musician. I played synthesizers in a goth band throughout college, and I was going to film school. The idea was always horror movies. I saw The Toxic Avenger on VHS when I was 13, and that's when it'll get its hooks in you. And I rewound it and watched it again. And I walked into my parents' living room and I said, I want to make movies. So I go to film school. While I'm in film school, I'm going out to goth nights. I start playing keyboards for this weird, like, industrial kind of noisy band. We kind of find this weird synth punk sound, and we're on tour on and off while I'm in college. We start to not get along anymore. Our singer starts dating our manager, financial issues. Music's looking like it's not going to work, or at least this iteration of it. And I'm in college, and my senior year, I take a class called New York Comedy, the history of New York comedy. Oh. And I show up, and first day, the teacher says, your final is either a paper or 5 minutes of stand-up in front of a real audience. And I go, I'm going to do stand-up. And so over the course of the year, they brought in comedians to talk to us. And I meet Dante Nero. I meet a number of other comics. Ramsey Moore, who's no longer with us, all kind of come in and talk to us. Then they bring us over to what used to be Eastville Comedy Club, and they have us practice 5 minutes each with real comics watching us. And then the night of, they audition us, they put us in order, and then we all opened for Big J. Okerson.
Okay. Wow.
Whose manager was there, meets me, very nice, stay in contact with him. They do another reunion show with people who took taken that class over 2 years, and they have us all go up at Caroline's.
Okay.
Again with Jay and Justin Silver and a bunch of other comics I wound up becoming friends with. And Jay's manager at the time said, hey, do you really want to give this a shot? If you want to do stand-up, I will, I run a club. You can do check spots and little, I'll just hang out. And he gave me a doorman job. And out of college, I just started working. I had about a lost year where I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. And then he gave me a doorman job. And I started eating checks. For people who don't know what that is, it's you go up while in between the last two people on a showcase show, and you go up while the audience pays their bill. And it's basically comedy boot camp. Everybody's doing math. They're mad always because the bill was way more than they thought it was going to be. They're looking at $13 Heinekens. And basically they put me through comedy boot camp. And I was selling tickets, working the door, doing sets every night. And that kind of became comedy. And through that, I was working with the guys that I work with now, which is Jay, Lewis, and Dave from Legion of Skanks. They were on every show when that club opened. And I was the door kid, and they just kind of kept me.
So that's how you got into the fold with the Gas Digital crew.
Yeah, and then I was supposed to produce a podcast, and they realized I had no technical skills. So they just gave me a microphone to comment, and I wound up just having a knack for sitting in the pocket and what they would refer to as sniping. I'm the Artie chair is what I would call it.
Yeah.
Or the Jim Norton chair when O&A was still around. And it's just that's how I've been with those guys for 12 years now.
Wow. And when I saw you in person at the Troma premiere that we were at, you mentioned Tim Dillon, and my brother and I he's, to me, man, he's my favorite comedian right now. I can't say enough about how brilliant Tim is. What was your first memory of Tim Dillon, like meeting him and seeing him, and when was that?
Tim's always been special. There's something so larger than life and not condescending, but almost like Tim's been a star before he was a star. He had this air about him that he was always like, and he's in it to win it, man. He works hard. He hustles harder than anybody. And I remember him going from just a guy I hadn't heard of that I had met to, I was like, and everybody went, Tim's going to be big. Everybody went, Tim's going to fucking get out. And then, like, it just happened so quick. And Tim went from, being in New York. And then it was so fun. Tim was sleeping on our friend's couch in LA. And then Tim was famous like 2 months later. It was insane. Wow. Like it was a trajectory that was so not unexpected because he's so talented, but so like, oh, how's Tim doing? Tim's staying with our friend Michelle. And then how's Tim doing? Oh, Tim's fucking rich.
Yeah. Well, I watched Tim had Louis Gomez in his studio there, and Louis said that during Tim's Gas Digital days, he would ask Louis to front him like the $600 check per month for his early show there that he had going because he needed it to pay his bills. And Tim's like, I would then take it and go to the most expensive steakhouse and get a $70 tomahawk and put it on the gram, And it was surreal to hear that, and I could tell. I don't know a lot about it, but it sounds like Gas and Louis were very, very supportive of helping Tim in those early days.
Yeah, and then it only helps us. Like the fact that we all have this association, and that we're all friends. It can only be good. Like I think a mistake a lot of young comics make, and I made it in my few early years, is I would work with these people and felt like I was having good sets and stuff, and I would see them get TV and get all this shit. And I had all this bitterness, like, why not me? But the older I get, the more I realize, like, oh, no, you're successful by association. Like, I may not have gotten what some of my peers have gotten, but the fact that I perform with them, I do stuff with them, I'm in the fucking game.
Yeah,
you're there, dude.
And I'll get, and I've gotten my shots, and I've gotten to do a little bit of TV stuff. And now when people get shit, you're so happy for them. Yeah. Because everybody bumps up a notch. If Tim gets something, that's somebody's going to find us. And the more people do better, the more our peers do better, the better it is for us. And so watch somebody like him find so much success is A, inspiring, B, well-deserved, because he's fucking phenomenal.
It is really inspiring. And the first time I saw him was on Rogan, and he's clutching a book called Family of Secrets about the Bush family by an author named Russ Baker, who Mike and I had on our podcast a few years ago. And I was like, Mike, holy shit, dude, there's this brilliant fucking comedian on Rogan right now, and he brought a copy of Bush Family of Secrets to give to Joe Rogan. And I'm like, I need to look more into this guy. So I gave him a follow on Instagram, and then that was it, man. It's Tim. It's been Tim Dillon for me, man, and I live for that show every Sunday when it comes on with him and with Ben's laughter and whatever guest he might have.
And more importantly, he's just a good guy. Like he takes care of his friends. Just like what I said about Tony, takes care of his friends, and just always complimentary, always trying to help people out with stuff, and
right.
Fucking love him, man.
Yeah, no, we're so lucky to have someone like him. And I know the first time we saw him, Mike and I were front row at what was it, Mike? The Comedy Connection in Providence.
In Providence, yeah.
And it's a pretty small room, and Mike and I are big boys, right front row, and we're just laughing our ass off. And Tim's like, and we got these guys right here. These are my two personal trainers. You can see that's going well. And we went up to him afterwards, and he's like, hey, thanks for being a good sport, guys. And we took a picture with him, and. I think the first thing I just said to him, just because I was so psyched to meet him, I just said, I like guns and I put them in my pussy. And he had to think for a second. He was like, oh, yeah.
Megan McCain.
Yeah.
It's amazing. No, it's funny. It's full of heart, and it's full of a lot of the same shit that Eric and I have been looking into the last 20 years. So that's, I think, another reason why we
he's catch those vibrations, man, and just put it out in a way that's so brilliant and funny. And that New York Post piece about him buying the place in the Hamptons is everything.
So what do you got coming up, Zach? You got some. It sounds like you're working on your hour, and
Yeah, working
you
on
just
my
hitting
hour.
spots.
When will this come out?
What's that?
We're live right now, right?
This is live.
Oh yeah, this is going to be out immediately.
Mike will put it on
I'll
all our
be,
audio.
I mean, just check out the podcast, Zac Amico's Midnight Spook Show, Real Ass Podcast, and bye, guys. Please check out hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm, which is now screening. We're currently have screenings going on in Boston and Los Angeles. And then if you're listening live and happen to be around, I will be at the at Soul Joel's in Pennsylvania this weekend on Friday, and next weekend I will be at the Emaus Theater in Pennsylvania and Coho's City Music Hall in upstate New York.
That's
Excellent.
awesome. And yeah,
We'll have to have you on again, and we'll talk more about wrestling because I want to get into the wrestler and your a little bit more of your wrestling career next time.
Yeah, we'll definitely keep in touch about when you're going to do that hour, because if that's something that, you know, I could come and see, or we could come if it's in New York or wherever you end up doing it, that would be amazing to be part of.
Yeah, I'd like that very much. Thank you, guys.
It'd be so cool. Well, Zach, thanks for joining us, man. It was awesome to talk to you, and just keep doing what you do. Your stuff is fucking hilarious. We didn't even talk about the roast where you really, like, you're the first big roasting. I think it got like over 1 million views really quickly, and you roasted that girl. 6 million. Wow. So we can save that for the next interview. But thanks for
you guys are the best, by the way. Thank you sincerely.
Oh,
thank you,
thanks,
Zach.
man.
Yeah, it's always been a pleasure working with you.
We get the studio space up here in New Hampshire. We'll definitely if you ever get up this way, we'd love to have you come in studio once that becomes a reality.
Absolutely,
sure.
You got it.
Well, cool. Well, folks, check out Zac Amico. He's a funny guy. He's talented. He does a lot of different things. And we appreciate you watching, and all the information is down below where to follow him, subscribe to his channel, follow him on all social media. If you like what we do, consider becoming a monthly patron. Patreon.com/Jackman Radio. $5, 10 months, $10 a month, whatever you can do, it all helps. So everybody be good, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Troma!